The Texas Longhorns playing Oklahoma State in Jerry World. This is a game that I've been to before, and I'll say this, I think this is very quietly one of the best scenes when it comes to the conference championship weekend, because it's in Jerry World. It's starting your Saturday, so you go from college game day or your tailgate or big noon kickoff or whatever right into the first game of your Saturday morning. It's just beautiful. You got the sunlight kind of peeking through the open window in Dallas. I think it's great, or Arlington rather. Excuse me. I guess it's not technically Dallas. You get the picture. 12 Eastern, ESPN or ABC rather. Texas favored by 14.5 against Oklahoma State. And with this game, there has been a lot of talk around Texas and what they are or what they will be when they go to the SEC. And I'm just going to get out ahead of this because we said it before the Alabama game. We're going to say it again to you right now. There's going to be a lot of talk around around Texas being back. Going to be a lot of talk about Texas being back, and I want to tell y'all right now, that is a clicks conversation. Us here on this show, and I'm imagining y'all that are watching the show who consume college football content, you're not really in this whole thing for clicks convo. You just want ball, so that's why you're here. But what I want to make sure we say is back and not back, I think it's an overrated conversation. What it would mean for Texas, though, if they win this game, it would mean there is no denying what they are right now. It would mean there's no denying what Steve Sarkisian has done in his time there in Austin. And I think also the body of work for them would speak for itself. You would have to feel pretty solid, dare I say good, about your college football playoff chances and your resume with how it would look if you're a one-loss conference champ out of the Big 12 with a one-score loss to Oklahoma, with arguably the best regular season win in all the country with a double-digit win in Tuscaloosa. 4 ranked wins, I think that would be just right for Texas. And this game means a lot, obviously, before they throw the deuces up and head to the SEC. Now, for Oklahoma State, man, it's no secret. For everybody, it's personal. It's absolutely personal. Like, they want to send Texas to the SEC with a loss. They do. Like, they would love so much to have the SEC chants sarcastically just echoing throughout the entire building as they take a knee to upset Texas in this game. That's what they would like to have happen. They have relished the underdog role, I think, the entirety of this season. The over-under win total for the Pokes coming into this year, 6.5. If you had the over, that's already cashed. For them, this is a spot where I think everything about them has, like I said, relished that underdog role, led up to this game. They got a quarterback who's on his third school in Alan Bowman. It took them overtime to get to this game, beating BYU in comeback fashion last weekend. They're playing with house money. Nothing more dangerous than someone at the table playing with house money. Now, as we always say with spreads like this, if you're new to this show, this is how we preview games with a double-digit kind of spread. We give you our non-negotiables. It's not hard to tell you, hey, we think Texas wins the game. That would be an easy thing to just say. The non-negotiables when it comes to predicting this game, and I'll tell you who I think is going to win the game here in a matter of minutes, so sit tight. I think you would need real disruption from the Oklahoma State defense. Like, overall, like you can't just sit back and let Quinn Ewers pick you apart. And Oklahoma State, to be 100% honest with everybody watching the show, they have not been a pressure team. If there was a time to start, it's right now. Dial something up that you haven't seen to this point in the year if you're playing Texas in this spot. Also, I would say you need to be somewhat physical from a coverage point of view in the secondary, because there are so many weapons for Texas that I don't think you can just allow everyone to have a free release. And what I mean by free release, for those of y'all that don't know, essentially you can't give a big cushion to these Texas wide receivers. It doesn't have to be press man coverage, but I think you do have to get hands-on and make it an effort thing for them to get in and out of their breaks, and just make it hard on them to do the simple things. Just be, it sounds, I don't know if I really want to say it this way, but be in some ways just a speed bump. Try and slow it down as a whole when it comes to Texas throwing the football downfield. Now, I will say this too for Oklahoma State. They've been tremendous so far this year in terms of forcing turnovers. They're taking away 1.5 times a game. Nice little pick six this past weekend against BYU. Had a great fumble to ultimately win the game, or a fumble forced and a fumble recovered, rather, to win the game in overtime. Alan Bowman cannot turn the ball over at all. Not he can't turn the ball over one time. Not you have to win the turnover battle. Like you cannot have any turnovers, because what that does, it would give Texas more ammunition to go down and score points. You don't want to get into a track meet with Texas. It's not a way that you win this game. He's been 10 touchdowns to 11 picks this year. Has Alan Bowman. That has to be 0 picks in this game. I don't need 4 touchdown passes. It'd be nice, but I need 0 interceptions if I'm Alan Bowman. Now, the big question here and the big advantage for Texas is the variety of weapons they have to work with. Because that's the trouble with defending Texas. You got Xavier Worthy, you got Adonai Mitchell, Jatavian Sanders, Jordan Whittington. Like, we go down the line here, and you have to have answers for all of those weapons. Going back to what I just said for Oklahoma State. 1, I think you got to be physical in coverage. 2, I think you have to at least manage that. It's not a thing where you have to just totally lock down the entire receiving floor for Texas, because I don't think that's realistic. I think you have to manage it. Just have that not be the way they beat you. Other part of that is Texas and what they do pre-snap is so difficult to handle. Oklahoma State has to do a good job of sorting that out. Because Texas and Steve Sarkisian, I mean, he's going to dial it up now. We know it. We've seen it. We've seen it firsthand in person in Tuscaloosa when we saw them play Alabama and score 30+. They'll do a lot of pre-snap shifts. They'll do a lot of motions, whether it's Xavier Worthy from the slot or someone from the backfield making a motion behind the quarterback out to a wheel route. Like, they're going to play with the eyes of the Oklahoma State defense. If they don't sort that out correctly, they don't even have a prayer. And Texas will score north of 30 like they did against Alabama. Now, the other thing for Oklahoma State, and the reason why we break this down from the Oklahoma State side of things, again, because this is where it has to be for Oklahoma State to be competitive in this game. I think the burden of proof is on Oklahoma State in this game. Running back Ollie Gordon has to have a sizable impact. And this is threefold as to why he needs to have an impact. The first of which being a lot of what Oklahoma State does offensively is off of like the RPO kind of move, the play action kind of move. A lot of it is a mesh at the very least to Ollie Gordon to play with the linebackers and the third level of that defense. Try and get them to run up and honestly try and fill run. I'm not worried about you running the football if I'm a linebacker, if we've stopped it all day long from our defensive line. So then it becomes harder for Alan Bowman to throw the football. You need to be multiple offensively to try and beat Texas. Second part of that is Ollie Gordon, it's no secret, he's the best player on your team. Heck, when he's on the field, he may be the best player on the field. He has to have an impact in this game. Pretty straightforward. Your best players have to play their best in the biggest spots. No other way around it. Because if you take away the best player for Oklahoma State, like, it's going to be a long afternoon, going to be a not very interesting third and fourth quarter in the Big 12 title game. And the third part of it is I think you have to possess the ball to beat Texas. Going back to what I said about turnovers, the more chances that Quinn Ewers gets on the field, the less you feel good about your chances if you're Oklahoma State. Has to be a thing where you limit that window for them to score points. If we say this a lot for different predictions, like Oklahoma State, I think, wants to play this game somewhere in the 20s. Can you do that? That's where I get a little bit concerned, because when I look at the way that Texas matches up with Oklahoma State, the spread is what it is for a reason. That run defense for Texas is sensational. They're allowing 85 yards a game. That's top 5 in the country. I think they're going to, at the very least, manage Ollie Gordon, if not neutralize him. And I think the Texas offense, it doesn't take a lot for them to get leverage on a team. And I think once they get their foot in the door and they get up 10 or they get up, 14, I don't think Oklahoma State's going to be able to chase them. The Texas run game is the key to all this for me. Oklahoma State, they're not good defending the run, giving up 176 yards a game. I expect C.J. Baxter to be rolling in this one. I expect him to be extremely effective. I think he will be the hammer in this game for Texas, and I think Texas wins. I don't know if I like the spread. I've seen everything from 14 to 14.5. I'm going to go ahead and take Texas final score to win 38-24. So definitive, passes the eye test, another feather in the cap for Texas. And I think if Texas, if you're Steve Sarkisian, if you're Texas, you leave this game with a win. 1, you get the SEC chance that you want. 2, it's the culmination of Steve Sarkisian's flipping of the Texas operation when he got there. Their first year, they were 5-7. You got the Bo Davis rant. Then you go 8-4. And then you have a year like this where you throw the deuces up to the Big 12 in front of the entire conference. You leave to the SEC, and you have some momentum heading to the SEC. There's no questioning what Texas is from that point of view. So I think it has to feel pretty sweet. But again, we like Texas. I don't know if I'd take them to cover. I wouldn't touch that. That line gives me some heebie-jeebies, but I would take Texas to win this game. Passing the eye test, looking good for the committee. And at that point, just kind of wipe your hands and say, all right, we did all that we can do, boys. We did our part. We'll see what the committee thinks. But again, if you're Texas, I think you feel solid, dare I say good, when it comes to the college football playoff and how you match up and how you shape up, rather, in the eyes of the committee. That Bama win now, it's going to look good for a while now. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.